Okay, so that's dealing with my childhood. Again, I go in a lot of details about my childhood, the fight, the homelessness, the drug addiction, the abuse, but I survived all those things. And I don't want the focus to be my childhood. I also don't want to tell other people's stories. They have a right to tell their stories about what happened to them. So even though I lived through some of the abuses and traumas of other people, I don't have a right to tell their story. So I'm gonna just leave it at my childhood was very rough. And although it was rough and it was hard, my mother did the best that she knew how to do. And because of that, I was able to do what I needed to do. I don't want to again put other people's business out there, but my mother was a correction officer, and when she worked at the prison, she would hold individuals and the institution accountable for their racist actions, not just against her but other officers. So when you have brought up on departmental charges, you would have a PBA rep represent you at the hearing. Once my mother was the rep for certain individuals, every case she represented, she was not a PBA rep, by the way. She just knew her stuff. Everybody she represented got off. They would come with some departmental charges or things like that. She would handle her business, and that person would not lose their job, get punished, get the discipline that was required of them. So I watched my mother in living color be a fighter. Through it all, through everything we had to go through, she was standing up to them. They filed a lawsuit against them and got a federal decree from the federal government, Department of Corrections, on how the officers were treated by the state. So me watching her fight and stand up in the 90s against institutional racism and how she was treated let me know that, again, I didn't think it would be happening in the 2000s, but when it did happen, I would be aware and be able to handle it. My mother's a very strong person. She should have been a lawyer. That's why I think I got my passion for the law and criminal justice, because I would have to iron her uniform and put her uniform on her. And when you have a departmental uniform, you had to put your badge, you had to put your name plate, you had to make sure your collar was right. I had to shine her shoes. I was 13-year-old, shining my mother's shoes and just making sure that she was presented, because when you're a correction officer, you go in lineup. In lineup, everybody's inspected to making sure that their uniform was up to par. At 13 years old, I was making sure my mother's uniform was up to par. And I want to tell my story. I want to be respectful of other people and their stories, and I just want to get out basically my situation, so if you guys can understand and respect that. It is more in my book. Unfortunately, it's not for sale right now, but when it do go back on sale, I'll let you guys know. In addition to the book, I have 2 documentaries, so if you get a chance, you'll be able to view. I might play both of the documentaries and one of the stories, me telling the story about my story. So this one, I want to talk about the passion for law. Again, it came from my mom, but it also came from me watching. Don't laugh. I love Matlock. You couldn't tell me that Matlock wasn't the man. Like, he was winning all his cases. When he didn't win the case, it was a twist and a turn. He lost it, but he really won because he was just the bomb. Watching Hunter, watching all the criminal justice shows, like, I just had a passion for it. And I actually wanted to be a lawyer. All my friends and family, when they have a legal issue, my little sister called me, this. Legally speaking, I don't want to say my mind is unfeathered, but my mind is, when it comes to criminal law and how things are a crime and if it's a legal issue or not, I'm very good at that. I'm very good at I can't say I give legal advice, but me understanding the Constitution and me understanding how things work, I do have a knack for understanding the law. I'm in the process of applying to law school as we speak, because fighting this fight, I know I'm gonna need some lawyers, and they expensive because I ain't got no money to pay mine. So I'm gonna become an attorney to help me fight and advocate for people in similar situations as mine, because I know I was in this situation. I don't know if somebody else was in this situation. So I'm going to do my best to help, because what I'm seeing from what I'm experiencing and what happened to me happens to a lot of different people, and they are just, it's swept under the rug, and it's continued because we are silenced. That is why I'm refusing to be silent. So that's one reason why I decided to go into law. I got my criminal justice degree from Monmouth University, and I immediately became a social worker. I did residential treatment. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, when I first got my job, I sucked. My mother was a correctional officer. You know the little belt with the that they had a gun on when you did. Yeah, we used to get beat with those. I'm an 80s baby, so we got beatings. So when I went to residential treatment and it was the kids not listening, I follow the rules. Like, no, your mother tell you to do something, you do it. That's not how it worked clinically. So I'll be the first to tell you, when I first got there, it was very eye-opening. Me understanding the different diagnoses. It's 25% environmental, 25% biological, well, 50% biological, and 25% choices. So you have 25% of the mother, 25% of the father, then you have the environment, then you have the choices that people make. And me understanding how that works and really understanding the brain and really being guided to learn in social work, I became good at it, but at first I sucked. So I did residential treatment for 6 years in New Jersey. Then I did 2.5 years in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is my second home. And while I was in Missouri, I was in their nationally recognized Division of Youth Services. Those individuals there were incarcerated. In Jersey, it was more of a treatment. It was, okay, you have this issue. We're going to put you in a treatment center. We're not going to criminalize you. In Missouri, they were convicted of charges, but they still put them in a treatment center. In Jersey, you don't have to be convicted of a charge. You don't have to have a criminal record in order to be in a treatment center. You could just exhibit behavioral and mental health issues and be placed in a treatment center for treatment. So you don't have to necessarily have a record. Out there, you had to have a record in order, but the recidivism rate was very, very low in Missouri. It was nationally recognized for that. And I was out there for 2.5 years. I love it. I went to St. Louis University. I just graduated with my master's in political science and public affairs from St. Louis University. And when I talk about the issues that I talk about, I'm talking about it from my experience and what happens in the field. A lot of times we have people talking about the criminal justice system and what it is and how it should be, with this illusion of, oh, there's this justice and everybody's treated the same. That is not the case. We know that is not the case. So I feel like you playing me like a sucker when you tell me, oh, there is this justice and go to the judge. And that's not how it works in reality. And that's why I'm telling my story. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't be at TikTok. I have 2 lawsuits pending right now, basically detailing how my rights was violated. And the only thing the people in the court are telling me is, oh, well. Oh, well. Nah, homeboy, crimes is being committed. And I'm not the one. So that avenue is, I try not to get the ghetto. I try to state the facts. But they trying to play me is basically what it boils down to. It's like, yeah, you have to follow the rules. We don't have to follow the rules. And you're just going to shut up and take it. So that's why I went into it. After I went to Missouri, I came back. I was investigated for Law Guardian. And I was a care manager for 2.5, 3 years. Of 7 years of service with working with people with mental health and behavioral health issues. And I became very, very good at it. I loved it, but I also saw that it was putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And I wanted to do more to help because I don't feel like I was helping. I was meeting people where they were at, but I wasn't really helping them. I was just saying, oh, I'm the social worker. I come to see you every month, but nothing is really changing because I'm just supposed to put the bullet wound there and not take it out, not heal it. They're supposed to put a Band-Aid on it. So social services to me was the Band-Aid, and I wanted to do more. So I applied to be a probation officer, and what I thought was my dream job ended up being a nightmare. But we're going to cover that in the next video.